This is the Padua Podcast Network.
And then I remembered this popular science article I read about this thing called the internet that they have, and you can actually go find products on there. Running a Fever, episode 217, honey. Well, it's another beautiful day at Lake Atalanta, Rogers, Arkansas. We'll have smoke on the water today. It'll be slightly smoky, but you can see the reflection of the trees. It's fairly clear. And there's light in the sky. It's still kind of dim. It's sometime probably about 5:30 in the morning. A few cars in the parking lot, lots of birds doing their morning monologues. And it's relatively and mercifully cool. 64 when I got up. It's been very humid here, so I have not wanted to go outside for anything, but if you get up early enough, you can do it. Well, it's July. It's July of 2020 as I record this. COVID's still a thing. I think we're just calling it COVID now. COVID-19. All the other names we have for it. So I have a mask here that I will put on if I encounter someone. I suppose the show is sponsored by Henrietta Davis mask making or something. My mother made this mask for me, and it's bright yellow, purple, orange, and pink, and it has kitty cats on it. So, yeah. So that's what I'm wearing today. Thanks, Mom. Anyway, I love honey, especially Mountainburg honey, which is our local honey here. Mountainburg is a little bit south of here. That's where they make the honey. Also, like any of our other local honeys around here, local honeys. Anyway, Mountainburg honey has a nice sort of buttery flavor to it. And I like to eat it on toast with a little smart balance on there, or a lot of smart balance on there. But actually use it making homemade granola, probably more than any other use I have for it. And it seems that everything seems to kind of taste a little better when you think it's good for you. And so I thought I would just, I think honey's good for me, but is it really? And I thought I needed to dig deeper to find out more. And so here are the results of my research. So there are a couple of different types of honey. There is raw honey and pasteurized honey. The only thing that's done, and you can actually get unfiltered honey with like the honeycomb in it and stuff. Usually raw honey is filtered, so you just get the honey and not all the other stuff in there. I imagine you probably get bee parts along with that, but I don't know. Honeycomb, sometimes you can actually see that in the jar. So the other kind is called pasteurized honey, but it doesn't say pasteurized honey on it. It's just honey if you buy it in the grocery store. Pasteurized honey has a reduced number of nutrients. We'll talk about the nutrients later. Does not contain bee pollen and bee propolis, which has special qualities. There are 2 reports, and you can look in the show notes. I've got quite a few references there. 2 reports that say that that bee pollen and bee propolis have antioxidant, antibacterial, and anti-cancer benefits. You don't want to skimp on those, so that's why you get the raw honey. So, honey offers several important benefits. One is antioxidant effects. Now, it's well documented, well known, but antioxidants are great for reducing your risk of chronic disease. I also like to think of antioxidants as preventing rust, because it's oxidation, which in the case of metal is known as rust. So don't let yourself rust. Don't let yourself rust. Have plenty of antioxidants. So, apart from antioxidant effects, there are also nutritional benefits. And the cool thing about honey, I talked about Mountainburg honey, is that it's different. They're all different kinds, and it's different where you are, because plants are different where you are, and the plants that bees use to make their honey are different based on every location. So so that's why you'll see clover honey, and that's the most popular one, but they also have other flowers listed on there because they're different. Okay, so what's in honey is niacin, riboflavin, pantothenic acid, calcium, magnesium, and manganese, and potassium, and phosphorus, and zinc. Good stuff. When I read that list, it reminded me of my bean episode, because beans have a lot of that stuff, a lot of B vitamins and so forth, because they're beans and starts with a B. So honey has antibacterial properties. This is stuff you might not even think about. I wouldn't. It actually contains hydrogen peroxide. I had no idea. And you can actually cleanse wounds with it. So wound healing, what you do apparently is you just, if you get a cut or something, put some honey on it, and then, put a bandage on it, and it'll heal faster. So not only do you cleanse the wound with it, but it actually makes it heal faster. Not sure how that happens, but apparently that's a thing. Honey is a good cough suppressant. So you soothe your throat with honey, and it's just as good as the over-the-counter stuff you get. Cough syrup in the store. You paid $14.39 for a little bottle of Robitussin or whatever. Let's get some honey. So what you need to do there is just take a spoonful of honey, teaspoon, and then you don't want to drink anything for a while because you want it to stay in your throat to suppress coughing. And raw honey, I think it was supposed to be, but I don't know that for sure. It just happened to be listed in where I read that information. It's apparently a good treatment for diarrhea, and they've done tests on children in which they recovered quicker, and from diarrhea. Anyway, you just want a teaspoon of that, just like everything, you don't want to overdo it. So you get a teaspoon, and that's all. You don't want to drink a bunch of it because it could actually make it worse. And of course, something I'm very interested in, protecting the brain. Honey can reduce or stop inflammation of the hippocampus, which is involved in memory. Some really good stuff that honey can do, that's for sure. The one on the list that sort of grabbed my attention that I hadn't seen before is called pantothenic acid. And the common name, what pantothenic acid, the common name for it is vitamin B5. And it's needed to metabolize something or other, of course, proteins, I think. And the common name for it is vitamin B5. It's needed, and you need 5 milligrams per day. So I don't think you can get it all from honey though, because I think you need like 125,000 tablespoons of honey, if my math is correct. I just make that number up. I actually tried to calculate it and came up with 125,000 tablespoons. Anyway, that's what pantothenic acid is. Honey has a medium glycemic index of 58, slightly better than table sugar. But again, this is basically sugar. Now, here are the detriments of honey, the cons, you might say. And the most obvious is that it's high in calories, of course, because it is sugar. 1 tablespoon is 64 calories. And also because it's sugar, you get the problems that fructose causes. There are a lot of them beyond the scope of this episode. Also, there's a warning. You'll see this on the packages. Do not give honey to a child under the age of 1. Children should not have honey in their first year of life, which means my godson can have his first honey sometime in the next month. I think he's about to turn 1. Here's a tip that I learned. Now, if you like raw honey, you may be worried about the way it crystallizes over time. If you let it sit for a while, it may start to, basically become a solid. Well, I learned this trick because in the past I might have just thrown it away or I don't know. But you just take your jar of honey and boil some water, or I guess, I don't know, they say medium heat. You put it in some water. You don't want to get it too hot, obviously, but put it in some warm water in a pan and set the jar in the pan in the water and give it a few minutes. and it should turn liquid. You know, check it every few minutes. Now, if you do it that way, you'll actually turn it back into its original liquid form, and that actually lasts for quite a while. I mean, at least several weeks. I just recently did it with a jar of honey that I bought, and it's probably been like 3 weeks, and it's just now starting to sort of crystallize again on the edges. So that's a good thing to do. Just learned that recently. So if you're looking for raw honey, it should say raw honey on the jar. I really only spread rumors or conjectures, stuff like that, but I mean, you know, I've heard some bad things in the past, but in 2019, the FDA updated their guidance on the labeling of honey. So if you call it honey, that's all that can be in there. One ingredient only, honey. So it shouldn't have, if it's actually honey, it doesn't even need a list of ingredients, because that's the only ingredient that's allowed according to the FDA. I went to the grocery store just yesterday and was gonna look around and you know, busy shopping and whatnot. Here comes my first jogger. Morning.
Good morning.
And but so you know, I missed out on like looking at all. I mean, I actually bought honey, but I was just getting my Mountainburg honey. I know what that looks like, so I didn't bother looking at anything else on the shelf. And then I remembered this popular science article I read about this thing called the internet that they have, and you can actually go find products on there. So I went on the internet and I found all kinds of honey. I couldn't believe how many different kinds of honey there are. Amazing. I even found one that said it was extremely raw. I don't know what that means, extremely raw. Raw honey can be pasteurized. I don't know. That may be something to do with it. So anyway, get yourself some honey. All things in moderation, of course. But it looks like it's generally a good idea. And that's the word from Running a Fever World Headquarters from Lake Atalanta. So, you got the fever. Keep it. You don't catch it. Talk to you next time on Running a Fever.